There are only two kinds of executives left: the ones who are using AI to sharpen their thinking, and the ones who are quietly expiring and just do not know it yet. And this is not a threat, this is just where we are. Welcome to the Career Evolve podcast, a place where you unlock your maximum potential while living aligned. Here we go deep into the strategies, the stories, the identities, shifts that evolve and expand your career and your life. If you're ready to stop settling and start closing on the opportunities that you actually deserve, stay with me. Here's the split that I'm watching happen in real time on calls every single week. And these are with executives who are objectively at the top of their game. And one group is using AI to think better, sharpen their positioning, faster pattern recognition, better questions in the room, not just faster answers. They're sharpening their strategic thinking, their planning, they're producing more because they're able to analyze more data quickly in a quicker amount of time. They can sit across from a board, a partner, an investor, and answer the AI question with actual specificity because they've built the habit of staying current instead of just hoping nobody asks. The other group is still treating AI like a rumor, something happening in someone else's industry, in someone else's role that they're going to get around to dealing with eventually. I need you to hear this really clearly right now. There is no eventually left. 83% of applicants are now screened by AI before a human ever sees a name attached to it. The cold application success rate has dropped to a fraction of a percent. Companies are eliminating hundreds of professional roles a day, not just because people in those roles were bad at their job, because the operating model underneath them changed and they did not change with it. And here's the part that no one really that really should land with you. Boards are asking the AI question now. Hiring committees are asking it. Operating partners at PE firms are asking it in almost every conversation. Not a technical test, an identity test. Are you the executive who's evolving with this? Or are you the executive who's still hoping it passes you by? The gap between those two groups of executives is compounding every single month. And here's what almost nobody says this out loud. It's not about intelligence. It's not about experience. Some of the most accomplished leaders I talk to are the furthest behind on this exact thing. And not because they're not sharp enough to figure it out, it's because nobody has ever handed it to them a place to start that respects how little time they actually have. And that brings me to the part nobody says out loud. I had a call this week with an executive who was running a division most people would call a dream role. 20 years in, smart, accomplished, the kind of resume that used to open every door by itself. And she said something to me that I've not been able to really shake since. She said, "I know I'm supposed to be doing something with AI. Everyone keeps telling me that. I just don't know what that something actually is. I get home, my kids need me, my inbox never stops. By the time I have anything left over, I do not have it in me to become a student of an entirely new system on top of everything else I'm already holding." And I sat with that for a second before I responded because I do not think she was asking me a tactical question. I think she was asking me if it was okay. She was tired. And I think a lot of you listening right now are asking the same thing without saying it out loud. This is not a woman who is behind because she's not capable. She is one of the most capable people I've ever talked to this year. She is behind because she's exhausted. And every single piece of advice that has been handed about AI so far has assumed that she has hours to spare that she just does not have. And that's the story I keep hearing in different words from almost every executive I talk to right now. It's never, "I do not care about this." It's always some kind of version of, "I care about this a great deal. I have no idea where the 20 minutes I have each day are supposed to come from." And so I want to say the quiet part out loud because I think most of you listening are carrying exactly what she's carrying, and nobody has really named it for you yet. You are not behind because you're lazy. You are behind because you're already maxed out. You have a role that demands everything you have during the day. You might have kids who need what's left of you after that. You might be carrying aging parents, a marriage, a health thing that you've been putting off, or 100 small obligations that never show up on a job description that absorb your whole life anyway. And somewhere in the middle of that, everyone around you, LinkedIn, the news, your own board keeps repeating the same message. You need to become fluent in AI, with almost zero guidance on exactly what that means for your Tuesday. No system, no starting point, just pressure, and a vague sense that you're supposed to already know how to do this. So, what do smart, responsible people, when they're overwhelmed and under resourced, do? You freeze. Not because you do not want to move, because nobody has ever broken this down into something really small enough to actually start. So I need you to hear me really clearly on this. Overwhelmed is not a character flaw. Overwhelmed is a sign that you are falling behind because you are not somehow less capable than the executive next to you. Overwhelmed is simply what happens when smart, high functioning people, when the market moves faster than anybody has given them a system to keep up with it. So once you understand the problem was never your intelligence or your work ethic, the entire question changes. It stops being what's wrong with me that I haven't figured this out yet. It becomes what is the actual system that will let me build this habit inside the life I'm already living, not some fantasy version of my schedule when 10 free hours open up in it. So here's what I am not willing to let this happen for you, because I'm not interested in handing you one more thing to trying to figure out alone at 11 at night after everyone in your house is asleep. You already have enough of those. What you need is not more pressure to catch up. What you need is infrastructure. And I am finishing building something right now at the Career Evolved lab that turns AI literacy into a habit, not a homework assignment. Something that installs the thinking, the positioning, and the ongoing relevance into your week in the background without asking you to become a different person or clear your weekend or find hours that just do not exist in your calendar. So here's why this matters so much to me personally. I've spent years, a decade now on the phone with executives at exactly your level, watching the same pattern over and over again. And someone does real transformation work. They get that identity right. They get their positioning right in the market. And then 6 months later, after our program, without a system running underneath it, it quietly just drifts away. Not because they stopped caring, but because life is loud and nothing was there to keep the practice alive without having to white knuckle it every single week. And I built this to be the thing that keeps running when your calendar gets impossible, because your calendar always is going to get impossible. That is not personal failing, that's executive life. So I am calling it evolved intelligence. And starting this week, I'm going to be pulling back the curtain on exactly what it is, what it does for you, how it works. I'm not ready to give you all of it today, but I wanted to let you hear this from me first before you see it anywhere else. So say this to yourself tonight out loud if you can. I do not need to master AI alone. At midnight, on top of everything else I'm carrying, I need a system that keeps me sharp while living my actual life. Write that down if you need to. That sentence is going to matter a lot more than you think it does right now. Here's the recap. There are two kinds of executives right now: the ones getting sharper with AI, quietly, consistently, without burning themselves out to do it. And then the ones who are slowly, quietly expiring, not because they're less capable, but because nobody ever handed them a system to fit in their actual life. The gap between those two groups is not talent, it's not experience, it's habit and infrastructure. And so if you've been feeling behind, I need you to hear this one more time. That is not a flaw in you. That is a signal that the market moved and no one ever gave you a map. So ask yourself tonight, not tomorrow, tonight, which executive have you been this month? And are you ready to stop trying to figure this out alone? I'm going to be sharing more on evolved intelligence all week. So keep an eye out on your feed, on your inbox, and this is going to matter more than anything else I've released this year. And I do not say that lightly. So if this episode gave you a spark, do not sit on it. Share it with someone who needs to hear it today. Subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss next week. And if you've received real value from this, if you wouldn't mind just taking a minute, leave a review on Apple, Spotify. That means more than you know. Until next time, stay bold, stay brilliant, and stay aligned with who you really are.